Welcome, everybody, to episode 22 of the Dual Boot Diaries, the weekly podcast where two longtime Windows users learn to use Linux daily. I am one of your hosts, Adam Patrick Murray.
I'm your other host, Will Smith, and we are not Linux experts yet. But each week, we're going to go through our experiences. We're going to share what we've learned. We're going to talk about how it's going. And then at some point in the future, we're going to decide, hey, we're getting rid of a partition. Right now, we have Windows, we have Linux. At some point, one of those is going to be sent away. Who knows which one it's going to be?
Jettison into the sun.
I have some thoughts, though.
You have thoughts? Oh,
yeah.
We're coming straight in to the top with some thoughts.
Hold on.
What do you got?
First, I have to apologize. Because last week I recommended a piece of software that I'd been using that I found quite useful and good. And then immediately when we posted the episode, like 15 people were like, yo, cider's a milkshake duck. Now, for people who don't know, the milkshake duck is a popular meme from the late 2010s on Twitter. And the idea was, yo, the entire internet loves the milkshake duck. It's a duck that drinks milkshakes. And then 5 seconds later, everybody finds out that the milkshake duck is racist. It turns out the cider people, not very nice people. So I rescinding that. I never even considered thinking, oh, I should look up these people that make this dope music player app and make sure that they're not dirtbags. But here we are, 2026.
Yeah, actually, when I first heard about it, a friend of the show, I didn't save their name, but popped into our Slack or our Discord, I'm sorry, and was like, hey, listen, just to let you know, the people who make this have a bad history kind of stuff. And we had a good back and forth. I feel like for our part, I mean, one of the things is like, yes, we don't want to back something that we don't personally condone anything like that. Like not just us personally, but also as an organization, right? Part of PCWorld, we're not here to do that kind of stuff. But also it's hard because we cover so much software and so much hardware in the course of what we do that, there will be times where it slips through the cracks or like you said, I'm not constantly thinking of like, oh, hey, I downloaded this new piece of software that somebody recommended to control my fans on my GPU. Should I look up? Do they have a history?
Should I see if they have problematic beliefs about race and or gender? Maybe we should know. I don't know.
Well, I would say no. I like not that we don't want to think about those things. I think it's just more like listen. To some extent, it's just not. I don't care. Look up literally every single thing that I use. I install like 20 things a day sometimes. I'm not, it seems like, I need a tool. Is there an open source tool that lets me know who's problematic? Let me know right in. So I don't think it's realistic. But what I think does help is that we have a community of people. So, get to us on Discord, put, a comment down in the video or something. If you feel like there's something that needs to be raised to our awareness, then let's do it. And we can talk about it on the show. I think that makes sense. I think that's fair to talk about,
the unfortunate thing is I never expected this would happen twice in the first 6 months of doing the podcast. Because the other thing that came up was that Omarchi thing that I talked about ages ago. Mm-hmm. The guy who makes that apparently is absolutely like an out and out fascist. It sounds like so. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for
Well, I don't know if this is a bigger thing too. It's the thing that I'm kind of noticing too is that Linux is so community based and so many people who are putting passionate effort into things that are not driving money. Like so much of it is open source and stuff like that, that I think, by nature of that, there's just a lot of people who have a lot of passionate feelings and even taking the extreme examples out, there's obviously sometimes hurt feelings of like, oh man, I was working with this project and then I decided to go and do my fork of it because they didn't like my kernel commits or something, there's I don't want to
drama.
I know. Yeah. I was trying not to say that, but I personally don't usually look into those things anyway. Anytime I'm going to call out Brad Shoemaker here. Anytime he's like, oh yeah, did you hear about that recent scene drama? I was like, no, I don't really follow that kind of stuff.
Let me tell you, man, we could do a podcast that's just scene drama and people would lose their minds. People love scene drama.
It's just not who I am. Like, I'm not a scene drama kind of person.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's one of the reasons why we don't get into it that often. You know, it's just like I'm actively not looking for it. But once again, if there is something you feel like should be brought to our attention, let us know and we can talk about it.
I'm always welcome feedback. I appreciate everybody who sent in a note. I was being flip at the beginning, but like, yeah, I'm not going to obviously give them more money. So, and I would not either if I were you, but that's up to you.
Yeah, I mean,
anyway.
and also the best thing we can do, even if you don't agree with it, and you're like, actually, you know what, I like this guy and I want to support him. It's like, well, but we need to talk about it. We need to have a discussion, and like giving light to these kind of things is something that can benefit everybody. So
yeah. Also, I got to introduce Adam to the idea of a milkshake duck earlier today, which was the high point of this entire encounter. So
yeah, I'd never heard about it. It was I mean, also I was never a big Twitter person either.
There you go.
So maybe that's what it is. So.
Yeah, not words, pictures. Anyway, what else we got?
We've been doing some stuff.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm going down some really cool rabbit holes, especially gaming related. But yeah, you've
been on the handheld side or on the? You want me to start with mine? I can go on mine. I think I have the short list this week.
Yeah, do it.
So NVIDIA hooked us up with a early pre-release version of GeForce Now for desktop Linux. A native
Linux client, yeah,
not the Electron client that people like. So the AUR is lousy with Electron clients. Some people kind of hacked the Steam Deck Flatpak that they put out, but that was a little problematic on the desktop, but just because it was limited to like it defaulted everything to 1280 by 800, and you couldn't run higher resolutions and stuff like that.
I mean, it was looking for a Steam Deck, right? So it was built for a Steam
built for handhelds. Yeah.
Even though I was able to get it to work on other, like the Legion Go running SteamOS, still was able to install it and use it. But
yeah, so the thing that they're distributing is a binary install script that installs Flatpak, and I think if you don't have the Flatpak software installed, it will install that for you as well, or pull that from your repo. But I was able to install it on Cache. Right now, it's only for Ubuntu 24.04 and newer, I think.
Official support is for that. Yeah.
But I was able to download the bin and make it executable and run that, and it installed and ran great on my Cache machine. So,
maybe we should back up. Maybe some people don't know, but GeForce Now is literally a cloud gaming service where you connect to a server. You then get to access not your whole game library, but a subset of it that is supported. There are different support tiers and different pricing tiers. There is a free tier.
There's a free tier, so you can try it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the free tier is like, I mean, it's limited, but like, it's not that limited. So, hey, you know what? Try it out. See if you like it, see if you don't, whatever. I feel like over the course of the years that we've been doing the Full Nerd podcast, it's been a running joke for reasons, other reasons, but it also is something that seems to be pretty divisive, which I understand. A lot of people are like, no, I want local hardware. And then some people are like, oh, you know what? Like, actually, I've used it. It was an interesting experience. So I think I would break it down to a couple things. Part of it is, do you have awesome local hardware? If you do, and that's what you prioritize, then heck yes. Like I can't imagine somebody's going to be like, oh, you know what? I got that 1590 right there, but I'm just going to not use it now.
I mean, there are times like when it's 95 degrees outside, I don't exactly want to spin up a giant GPU in my office and heat up the room more.
True.
But yeah, for the most part, for me, I was looking at this mainly as hey, is this a way to play games that DRM doesn't let me play on Linux? Right.
Yeah. Well, that's why we're bringing it up here, and why I think it's interesting for the Linux side of it, because there are there is that subset of games that just won't run on Linux, and who knows if they ever will run on Linux. Yeah. But real quick to finish my other thought, I think there's a couple other things people need to think about, is that it's also very input dependent. I feel like people who like me, who are controller centric, maybe can absorb some of that latency between the server and bringing it back to the client. I mean, NVIDIA has tried to do a lot of technical stuff to make sure the latency is minimized, but that's another point where I feel like people are like, hey, listen, even if I did like to use it, I can't stand the latency and stuff like that. Okay, cool. And I think the last major part for that I've seen people talk about at least is that it really depends on your situation. Like, to be fair, Will and I were in the Bay Area, and guess what? There is a GeForce Now server in the Bay Area that we connect to, and so we're in like the best possible situation from a distance wise. And I have 10 gig fiber. I don't know about you, Will, but like the throughput is really good, kind of thing.
For audio listeners, I just rolled my eyes so far that I could see the back of my head.
Not that you need 10 gig fiber, but I'm just saying, like, when we test it out and we have a good experience network wise, that is not always going to be the case, and that really is going to depend, which is why I usually just recommend people, luckily there's a free version.
Yeah, just
you can try it out. And if you're like, up in Montana or something and you're like, wow, this really sucks for me, it's like, yeah, then you know what, there's nothing you can probably do about that, because who knows?
The speed of light is the speed of light, man. So I tested it on my laptop at work on Wi-Fi. I tested it here on wired on the desktop at 4K. On the desktop, I was running at at HD 1080p basically on the laptop, and the experience was quite good. On the laptop on Wi-Fi at work, which the work Wi-Fi is a little old. It's like, I think we're Wi-Fi 5 there probably. And
plenty of security.
I was going to say that it may shock you, but it's tuned not necessarily. I was playing some Fortnite. It's definitely not tuned for low latency gaming on the Wi-Fi settings. It's more, hey, can we jam 150 people onto this Wi-Fi node? But it was fine. It was playable. It wasn't great. The at home, however, it felt much better. Like so Fortnite, you have to lead the guns a little bit, because there's travel time on most of the bullets. And because the latency has moved from client to server to client to video renderer to server, even though I'm only 5 milliseconds away from the data center where it's running, there's a couple milliseconds of latency. It affects your aim a little bit if you're leading shots when people are like running perpendicular to you and stuff like that. But it wasn't impossible to play. It was just I played for 2 hours, and by the end of that 2 hours, I'd adapted. And I'm sure that when I go back and play on a desktop client again, I'm going to have to readjust back to the way I was aiming before. Cause it's just like the difference that you're leading your shots, the distance you're leading your shots changes based on the latency, basically.
I mean, the other part of it too, is that the you're using the Framework 13 laptop, that's not a high, frequency display.
No,
like
it's 60 hertz
not
display.
It's not a display meant for gaming either. So I'm sure there's some inherent system latency being introduced to there as well. So
at home, I was playing on and I should actually plug the framework into the wired internet and see how it does in that situation to see if we can do some comparisons. But at home on the wired machine, even playing at 4K 120, because it'll go up to 120 or 144 hertz on the stream, like I was getting really good performance in Arc Raiders. I played Arc Raiders quite a bit. I've been playing it a lot lately, so I'm familiar with how it feels. And honestly, by the end of that session, I had completely forgotten that I was playing in I'd forgotten I was playing in the GeForce Now launcher until I closed the game. It was like, hey, we're shutting down your GeForce Now session. Do you want to restart it? So like in some cases, it's really good. I haven't tried Call of Duty X. I don't have the current. I need to pick up the current Call of Duty. I'll try that and maybe report back next week. But like this week is the week that I'm thinking about, hey, what could I do if I didn't have Windows on this machine? And this is, I think, a viable option. Even the free tier, I think you get an hour. The thing they limit on the free tier is resolutions and session lengths. So like the session length is limited to like an hour, I think, which isn't too bad. It just means you have to be thoughtful about when you start and restart your sessions. You don't want to be in the middle of a Fortnite match and then all of a sudden be like kicked. You're like, oh no, God, I was about to get a crown. Yeah. So that was weird. The other thing I noticed is that it is a little bit of an adjustment to get your input, specifically mouse sensitivity settings lined up, because there seems to be, because it's going into this app and it's pulling the OS and it's like, I don't know exactly what's happening, but it seems like the mouse sensitivity is, even if you set it on the same settings in GeForce Now versus the local client, you have to do a little bit of futzing because it's not exactly 1-to-1 in everything. And then the last thing is a Fortnite specific thing that I haven't seen anywhere else, but if you use the mouse wheel to select weapons in Fortnite, which usually one click of the mouse wheel is one chunk of the weapon selector. So you go from weapon 1 to weapon 2 to weapon 3 to weapon 4 to weapon 5. It skips every other one with the mouse wheel in GeForce Now only. So I don't know what's going on with that. I think my guess is it's probably doing the thing where Linux is making the mouse wheel turn 3 lines, and then also GeForce Now is making the mouse wheel turn 3 lines. So instead of turning 3 lines, it's turning 6 lines with each click of the mouse wheel. But I don't know for sure. Yeah.
Interesting.
It's a problem that trackball people won't have. Don't worry about it. You're good at it.
I mean, I'm a controller person anyway. I unfortunately I was hoping to have some time to get around to testing, but I was busy in the benchmark mines reviewing the 9850X3D, which, spoilers, it's just a little bit better 9800X3D. So if you want to go watch my 90-second review over on PCWorld YouTube channel, go watch that. Not much to talk about here, so we're not talking about it here. But yeah, I just didn't have a ton of time to load that up and get that testing. Like I did want to try it on native Ubuntu versus Bazite or something like that. Yeah. So, I actually did reach out to NVIDIA, or NVIDIA reached out to me. For the review codes for this, and then I followed up with some big questions, because I was like, hey, I'm a little curious about some of this stuff. Can you help clarify some things? So one of the questions was like, hey, like, why Ubuntu? Will it be available for other
distros?
Other distros? And the look at this quote from NVIDIA: when the app releases, it'll be available for download on the NVIDIA site. We are launching the app in beta and will officially start support with Ubuntu. The native GeForce Now app is a flat pack, and while you can try to run the app on other distros, we're only able to guarantee support and performance on Ubuntu at launch. We do plan to add support for more in the future, but don't have any further details beyond that at this time, end quote. So like, yeah. And like you said,
they also recommended like different drivers that are available right now on mainline OSs and all sorts of other stuff, which, like, to be clear, I was playing it on the laptop on a Ryzen AI machine with no discrete GPU. Like, I was running it I don't know why they would recommend a specific NVIDIA driver, unless it's to tie into like Reflex or something like that. Yeah. I mean, they tried to loop in a technical marketing manager. He unfortunately didn't respond back to that one, but by the time we recorded,
they if you have an if you have an older driver version installed, you likely run into some performance hiccups like studying or tearing, end quote. So I don't know. I mean, like you said, like, you seem to have a good time. I wonder if you did try to on Ubuntu, you're like, oh wow, this actually works even better.
Maybe. So. I have an Ubuntu install somewhere. I can maybe give it a try. Maybe I'll try it on a live distro, see what happens.
I mean, and the thing, like, I feel like, once again, people are going to be contentious about this whole topic, because, I mean, it's not great to think that you got to pay a monthly fee. If you want to pay for a monthly fee, they have different tiers and things like that. And a lot of people are concerned that that's kind of like the direction NVIDIA wants to go. They don't want to sell GPUs to gamers anymore. They just want to put the GPUs in server racks, and then you connect to their server racks and pay them money ad infinitum through the years, kind of thing. But apart from that, like, the thing why I think this is different on Linux, and why I'm glad they're talking about it, or trying to get this out here, is that time and time again, I've heard a lot of people say that the reason why they like using Linux is because it gives life to older hardware. So if you're somebody who's like, hey, you know what, I've got this old laptop that is not able to take Windows 11, or you don't want to use Windows 11 anymore, then it works perfectly fine Linux. That's awesome. But more chances than not, if you're using an old laptop, it's probably not keeping up with the latest games anyway. So, like, this feels like a match made in heaven, to be like, oh, sweet, you still get to play the latest and greatest games on your old laptop. So I think it's smart.
I was pleasantly surprised by it. This also came up, caused a problem that I hadn't had before, which is that I had duplicate entries in the Noctalia launcher, the thing, the thing that I press super in the space bar to pop up to launch applications.
Okay.
And I had an old GeForce Now flat pack that I installed from the Steam. I installed the Steam Deck version of the GeForce Now client a few weeks ago when they released that, a few months ago when they released that. And it wasn't showing up in Paru. It wasn't showing up in Flatpak when I was looking for installed packages because they'd installed it outside of those ecosystems. So I had to like figure out where to find the list of applications that's in the launcher, which is buried in my local user .local/user/share/bin, I think, directory, and remove the extra entry for the other Flatpak. Like I don't know how to uninstall that old GeForce Now client, which is a weird place to be. So I just removed it from the list, and the problem went away. Also, shout out to Noctalia. Cache picked them to be the new default shell for the Neri variant of Cache in the last big update. So the Noctalia people, for a thing that's been in active development for less than a year, have made something that's real good. Anyway.
And you've been on the bleeding edge. You've been helping.
I'm right there, man.
A better product, man.
Well, I haven't submitted as many bugs as I should have probably, but let's see. So there's that. Let's see. I fixed the OBS always needing a password last week. We talked about that by adding a UDEV rule, but then it didn't show the virtual camera. The OBS virtual camera stopped showing up in Chrome and Discord. And I eventually found a thread on the OBS project website that was a lovely chain of people. There was a person who was like, hey, here's the solution to this problem. And then like 5 responses that were like, hey, I made an account here just to thank you. This has bugged me for 6 months. And it's always nice to like, you see those occasionally. It's always nice to get the, hey, yeah, I made an account just to thank you for giving me the solve. The solve is that I had to add exclusive _caps = 1 to the mod probe and that prevented basically Chrome wasn't trying to connect to things. It wouldn't show you anything that it thought somebody else had access to or was using. And flipping that on fixes the problem, apparently. So I don't know. Doesn't matter. Sometimes it just works. I'm happy. I'm going to move on.
Sometimes you don't need to know how it works.
Sometimes I don't need to know why it's better. Just knowing that it's better is good enough. I've done a few more streams with the Linux Stream PC, and I've had kind of mixed results. The Open Deck controller has been really good. I set it up so I can connect to OBS remotely. I've got the bot running right. It's doing the notifications kind of reliably. Sometimes it says I'm playing $game % instead of the game I'm actually playing. So, you know, like you win some, you lose some. Yeah. The stability and perf problems remain. Which is shocking to me because this is a really capable piece of hardware and I don't understand why I'm having performance problems. It hangs sometimes when I go live, when I press the stream button, which is, I've never had an OBS before. Last night I streamed, I got a whole buttload of dropped frames to the point that people thought there were audio problems, but it seems like it was just the frames not sending, not like getting lost due to rendering or rendering or compositing lag, maybe. I can't remember. Encoding lag. I don't know what's up with that. That feels weird to me. It could be, I wonder if it's the 3080 that's in there. It doesn't have enough video encode oomph for the HEVC and the 5 other streams. I guess I should the right answer is for me to probably do a just 1080p single stream without using the Twitch enhanced stuff and figure that out. The other thing is, go ahead.
Well, I was but haven't you been using the 3080 for the Windows side?
Oh yeah, you're right. I have. It does work there. Yeah. The other thing is a couple of readers wrote in and we talked about it in the channel. They wrote in to tell me that the Twitch enhanced broadcasting documentation and the Twitch enhanced broadcasting feature support are actually pretty wildly different.
Somebody didn't update the docs.
Somebody did not update the docs, and I'm not able to find the thread, I don't think, unfortunately. But they pointed out that both ARC and AMD GPUs are supported by the enhanced broadcasting, including the 1440p streaming and the thing that it does multiple streaming codes so that your TV and phone views are low latency as well as the main feed. So
it makes me wonder, like, I think we just systematically maybe switch out some hardware in that rig and see if it's a hardware problem, but
maybe
try an AMD GPU, right?
I almost wonder if it's the CPU, because this is the 265, which I don't think we used a whole lot. I don't even know if we tested it, and it was
I think it was the benchmarking one. Yeah, I did benchmarks on that one.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'll maybe I'll bring it in. And the weird thing is, it didn't do it on the bandwidth test. It only did it when I was actually live. Oh, so the other thing I did was I realized that the browser plugin, the thing that shows your overlays, wasn't hardware accelerated, because they had that turned off by default for some reason. I flipped the switch on that, so it's on now, and I guess I'll do a stream later today and see if that helps. So. Anyway, fingers crossed.
Have you had a lot of people give you feedback saying that, oh yeah, I use OBS on Linux?
No, nobody has said that. But
really?
there's a lot of chatter on bugs, and like somebody posted a whole big thread in the Dual Boot Diaries questions channel that was a link to the, hey, we're adding Twitch enhanced broadcasting support to Linux OBS, because it was a separate, they had to do different paths for Windows, Linux, and Mac, because they all have different encoder infrastructures and stuff like that. So my guess is it's just hinky. I did the thing where I created a brand new profile. I have not done the thing where I created a brand new scene. I think I might just back up my settings and do a complete uninstall, reinstall of OBS, removing all the configuration stuff, because I'm a little worried that I might, I keep seeing decklink messages in the log, which I don't have a decklink device in the computer. I don't know if they installed decklink drivers by default, but that's hanging. I also tried changing the audio encoder, because I've had some problems with that, and I wondered if that was, so I switched from libafk, AFDK, or whatever that is, to FFmpeg. For the AAC encode on the audio side. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna keep futzing. I think I have an Arc GPU here. Maybe they sent me one a while ago, so I might see what I have.
I mean, but I don't think that has dual encoders to do it, does it?
I don't remember. The thing about it is, I think maybe the thing to do is to try going down to 1080p, because I wonder if the 1440p one doing HEVC and then the H.264 is overloading it somehow, because I think
there's no problem on the Windows side, right? So
yeah, but it's different drivers.
Oh,
yeah. I don't know. One of the things I've noticed is that, so for example, there's no NVIDIA broadcast equivalent on Linux. There's some stuff that's kind of in the same ballpark, but it's not as good. It's not as turnkey, I guess, is maybe the way to say it. So I wasn't able to do an NVIDIA broadcast filter when Elena and I were doing the CES keynotes to green screen us out, right? I could do it for one person. I could do it for, that's not right. I could do it for one source, but not reliably, and it didn't look very good. So I ended up not turning it on. And I think I think there's infrastructure back end. My question is, I wonder if the infrastructure back end on the kind of bleeding edge encode pipelines is in a similar state to that stuff on Linux. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm just bugs.
If you're using it on Windows and you're not getting hardware issues there, it makes me feel less likely that it's hardware related.
Well,
but
I haven't used this machine on Windows. I used this GPU on Windows.
Oh,
so it could be a problem with the CPU still. This is the last piece. I've switched everything else.
I mean, the other way to do that is just swap out the SSD, put in a clean Windows install on that same exact hardware. And if you're having the same problem, then it's just
true.
Oh, okay, well then it's definitely the hardware.
I could do that.
That's probably easier than trying to swip out components one by one.
Well, I've swapped everything except for the CPU at this point, I think. So yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, that's a good call. I'll
because then at least you can confirm. I mean, if you can get, because this box that you built is smaller than your normal box, right?
Yeah.
So if you can get that to work on Windows, then that's already at least one win down.
Yeah,
transition to Linux is another win. So
yeah. Agreed. It's funny. I did the last thing is I tried the fans. So that case, that fractal case has the CPU fan, which is a low profile thermal, right, real quiet guy, and then it has two big like 14 centimeter fans that blow onto the GPU. And those things at 50% were the loudest fans in my house. They're louder than my house fan. So I try to set up cooler control, which is the kind of fan control equivalent for Linux. And it just, cooler control does not see the fan controllers that are built into my Asus motherboards. The one in my main desktop, the one in this machine, neither of them have popped up. So I realized, I looked at how hot the GPU is getting under the full load that I put this machine under, and I was like, oh, I could just set these fans to 40% of the UEFI and never think about it again, which is what I ended up doing on that one.
Okay. I mean, I guess I'll get to I was going to talk about this in my section too, but the other thing that people recommended that I haven't had a chance to do was LACT. So LACT.
Okay.
Like it seemed like a pretty straightforward fan control kind of system. I mean, if your motherboard isn't allowing the hardware to be accessed anyway, maybe that's a moot point. But because I still, anytime I game on that system right now, I double check the temperatures too. Like under load, playing a game at 100%, the fans are spun up on that GPU all the way, and I look at the temperatures and it's like 58 C, and I'm like, okay, like you don't need to go that hard. Like you can definitely ramp down a little bit. So by default, it's just going way too hard.
So, there's also plugins for cooler control on that machine. I didn't bother digging in to figure out which plugin I need to install for the controller that's in the motherboard. On the desktop, I probably will, because on the desktop I want a little more granular control over the fans. Cooler control did give me immediate control over the NVIDIA fans in my GeForce card.
That's good, because for me, like the actual CPU cooler doesn't seem to be an issue.
Yeah,
fan wise, I think the motherboard is controlling it pretty well. For the configuration that I have, it's really the GPU that's just ramping up and being way too loud.
And that when you're on an AMD GPU?
Yeah, it's the one that Sapphire
9070.
The 9070 XT Pulse. And,
So I was going to say, I spent some time with NVIDIA settings this week. NVIDIA-settings, which is basically, I'm trying to think, what's the way to say it? It's basically kind of the control panel, but it also has like the thermal limiting and the power limiting settings from the new NVIDIA app on the Windows side. So you can do things like set it to be max performance or just run in a normal mode where it throttles a little bit more aggressively. You can also do clock speed offsets and memory speed offsets. So if you want to underclock it a little bit and get a little bit less heat, and you can control the fan speeds directly, although you can't, like, there's no curve equivalent or anything like that, which feels weird to me.
Which actually, real quick, the people in Discord who had showed me LACT, they show that it actually has really easy undervolting and all those kind of controls.
Oh, that's cool.
Too. So I was like, oh, okay. I unfortunately, like I said, I didn't have a chance to test it, but I really do.
One of the neat things about the NVIDIA app is you can set application profiles so that when an application pops up, you can put, say, your game. What's the game container thing that Valve does? Oh,
Gamescope.
Like you could have it fire up higher clock speeds and higher fan speeds when a Gamescope app is running, which is nice automatically.
Oh, because you're the only time you're going to be in Gamescope is if you're
presumably
playing games,
when you're playing games.
Okay, that's smart. Yeah.
Last couple of things, I installed camera controls, camera CTRLS, just before this episode started. Somebody recommended that to me last week when I was asking about controls for cameras outside of OBS, and it is basically a windowed version of the camera control that you get on a video capture device in OBS. For my webcam, which is let's see, it's a Insta360 Link 2. That means I get zoom, pan, tilt, pan speed. That's kind of nice. Tilt speed. I can turn on autofocus, set fixed focus. I can adjust color and white balance. I can adjust the power line deflickering. and I can capture images and video. Unfortunately, I can't. It still doesn't expose exposure. I think exposure must be only in the Windows application, unfortunately. So for this camera, so I might switch out one of my 1080p face cams and see what it looks like. See if it does better.
Well, speaking of camera control, once again, this is something I was going to talk about in my section, but I'll bring it up here too. Somebody over on Discord, once again, thank you, recommended Qt v4l2 test utility. It's pretty straightforward of an application, sliders and stuff like that. I haven't had a chance to use it. Actually, I guess I haven't really had a need to use it on my laptop, but I do. That seemed to be the best thing that I wanted to look into. Somebody actually recommended there are ways to do it from the terminal, and I was just like, "Come on, dog!" Like, I'm not gonna. I'm fine with it. But I'm not going to control exposure values through terminal commands.
Look, you got to get that. You got to get that 2 points precision in your exposure settings.
Yeah, I was like, that's funny. That is funny. But I'm not going to do that.
Last couple of things. Somebody sent in a question to the Tech Pod asking if I had archives of the old tested podcast. This is only a test. And if I would be willing to upload them to the Internet Archive. And as a result of that, I did that before last year around this time with the Maximum PC podcast archives that I'd collected over the years. And they're both, so those are both on the Internet Archive now. If you search for them, they should pop up.
Nice.
I got to use, previously on the Windows side, when I uploaded the NoBS podcast, I used the Internet Archive CLI archiving tool, which is like a Python script that you run. And I had to do a bunch of business to get Python working in Windows. It was a huge pain in the butt. On Linux, it was so easy because I just installed the client script, installed the requirements. Everything worked just right out of the gate. I pointed at the folder and was like, hey, put in this collection, do this, blah, blah, blah. And they were up there in like 20 minutes. It was fantastic.
That's cool.
Shout outs to Linux there. Last couple gaming, a new version of Proton came out yesterday that seems like it fixed the problems I was having with Arc Raiders specifically, where over long sessions, the performance would degrade until you got to like the real stuttery mess. So that feels buttery smooth now.
Oh, that's good.
I've only done one session, so it may still pop up, but I'm feeling optimistic on that. It felt a lot better last night. And then the last thing I saw is a tool, and I don't remember what it's called because I didn't write it down, which was my bad. But it lets you put Windows on an external drive.
Oh yeah, you sent.
I sent the link. I sent the link to you. Yeah, did I send it to it in Slack?
Let me find it. Yeah. I'm scrolling.
I was out and about, and I was like, I gotta remember this because it's important and it's maybe the right answer for your problems. But also, as I was thinking about moving off of Windows, it gives me a fallback if I want to not have a dual boot system that I occasionally can fire into Windows, right? Because it would be easy to make to put together an external SSD with like a 0.5 terabyte SSD in it that's just Windows and Fortnite and whatever other games don't have DRM that I can plug in when I need to use Windows. So it must be in our Discord.
So, yeah, I found it. It was in Discord. Win to USB 10.5.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks interesting. I have not tried that yet, but that would be, I mean, for me, like if I have a laptop that has dual NVMe slots, whatever, it's kind of a moot point. But yeah, if I want to start using laptops that only feature one NVMe M.2 SSD, then yeah, maybe this is a good way to go.
I want to claim back that first SSD, that main SSD in my computer, you know?
Yeah. Well, actually, you know what? I take that back. Maybe the other option would be if I have the live, I'm just calling this a live.
Yeah, it's like a live Windows install.
Yeah, live Windows install. Then I can carry that anywhere. I can take that to any PC.
Well, I don't know about that.
Well, except for you think it's tied to?
I mean,
it'll have
Windows,
drivers.
It's going to have to
like
do the whole thing where it detects all the hardware, and it's going to, you can end up with a big mess after like three different PCs. But,
true.
But like, if you're carrying your laptop or whatever, I mean, literally for me, I'm thinking about it in terms of, I think I might actually try it for this testing the Stream Machine, because it's a good way to do that with Windows without being a big pain in the butt.
And tried to test that hardware.
Yeah. But like, just generally speaking, I think it's an interesting like fallback to make that first jump a little bit less scary. Anyway, what's it called again?
I'm putting it in your homework.
Oh, beautiful.
Win to USB.
Win to USB. Yeah. So that's it for me. The DLSS 4.5 driver isn't out on Linux yet. I looked at, my guess is it probably comes out in the not too distant future. Because they're on their one version back. It's like 590.87 or something right now. So I'll report back later. Okay. Yeah. And that's where I'm at. That was my week. It's a lot.
Nice.
Yeah. What are you up to?
That is a lot. I thought you said that was a tiny bit.
I mean, sometimes little things turn into big things. What is it Gordon used to say? Linux is only free if your time is worth nothing.
There you go.
Look, I think that was definitely true the first time I tried Linux in 2003 for real. It feels less so now. Like it's a fun thing for me to futz with. So
we're making meaningful gains to our life.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So, for my diary entry, we already talked about some of the stuff like Lact. I really do want to try out Lact. It seems like people really like that for not only controlling fans, but also undervolting and things like that. So excited to try that out. The camera control stuff, I want to try that one that I mentioned, but I just haven't used my laptop as much, and that's where I kind of need it more. And then I guess the rest of it is gaming mostly. So the first part of it is, I talked about this last week, but I wanted to try native SteamOS on the Legion Go 2. ETA Prime did a video being like, "Oh wow, sweet! It works and it's fine. There's only a couple things that are missing before the Legion Go 2 is officially supported by SteamOS, coming sometime later this year. Who knows?" Unfortunately, I installed it. It was fine. The installer was fine. I did run into a couple hiccups. When you go to download the version off of the Steam recovery website, which is essentially, hey, like they have a website to download the image to recover your Steam Deck. It's not meant to be installed in other places, but that's where people usually get the file.
Kicking off point. Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to bring it up because I want to be very clear about the numbering. So the file, if you download it, or at least when I downloaded it over the weekend, I think it was let's see, sorry, 3.7.7. So that was the one that it downloaded, and that thing would not install. And I was like, okay, well, I'm doing something wrong here. Did I set up the install drive wrong? Did I corrupt
it,
download?
Or did you Ventoy it, or
actually used Fedora Media Writer.
Okay.
I actually like that one for like hey, you know what? I'm not going to mess around with Ventoy. I just want to straight write something. I think it's like the easiest one click kind of thing, and it's not just for Fedora. It's kind of named bad because
I got you. It's just a tool that Fedora made to write media so that you can install their OS.
Yeah, and so then I got to Googling, and essentially people were being like, hey, the number you actually want is 3.8, and that one is shared, like that one's the newest image, and I actually don't know how new or how old it is, but I loaded that one on Fedora Media Writer, put it in, installed perfectly, boom, did it. So I don't know why Valve still only surfaces the older version when the newer one that's out there
it's weird.
Is completely fine. So who knows? Anyway, I mean, maybe Valve's just not in a rush. They're like, oh yeah, did we ever update that the reimage file? Well,
I mean,
but also if it's meant for Steam Decks, it's even if you install
you're
that one, it's going to update.
It's going to immediately update. Yeah.
So anyway. And then when I installed it, I was like, okay, cool. This is great. I I'm digging this kind of thing until I hit the overlay button, the right hand side overlay button to change the screen brightness, and the slider is there. The slider works, and it does nothing.
Nothing happens.
And it did nothing happens. And I was like, oh, well, that's weird. Okay. And it's also not showing the HDR toggle, I think it was.
Were you running Bazite on this before, or were you running Windows?
I was running Bazite on this, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, yeah, it shipped with Windows, and then I
Yeah.
installed Bazite later. And so I was like, okay, that's weird. And I went to desktop mode to see if I could adjust the brightness there. And funny enough, in the dock, like through brightness control, you can actually change the brightness there. It's only in game mode that you can't control the brightness. Like literally almost everything else was there. I could control the TDP ranges, VRR, all the stuff that's there. The only thing that was not there, which what's his name, ETA Prime did note in his video, was control for the RGB on the ring lights or the thumbsticks. And, you know, whatever. I mean, I just turn off that stuff anyway most of the time, so that's not a big thing. But I was like, okay, maybe I could go out to desktop mode, change the brightness, and then load back into game mode. You know, that's not a perfect solution, but it's a way to use it. And even then, once you load into game mode, it just overwrites it and doesn't like not controllable.
Does it use? Do you know if it's looking for like DD? What is it called? DDRCI, DDC util?
I don't know.
So it's funny. My LG ultra wide, my old monitor over here that's on the stream machine, when I loaded up KDE, it was like, hey, do you want to control the brightness with software so it like automatically gets brighter and dimmer as the day goes on? And I was like, yeah, that sounds great. Expecting it to not work because it has literally never worked on any machine I've ever tried that wasn't a laptop. And it dims. I was shocked. Like it turns the backlight down from inside the control panel. You can even move the slider just like it's a laptop. Now, neither of the desktop monitors on my desktop will do that. So they're both ASUS gaming monitors, and neither of them have the DDC util brightness control. So I wonder if you're just missing a dependency for Lenovo's control for that, or if it's that you have to make a hook from whatever the Steam Deck uses to whatever the Legion Go uses, and that's something that they do as part of their porting Steam OS to the new hardware.
Well, I did do some Googling. I was like, okay, Legion Go 2, Steam OS, brightness adjustment. And there was a lot of people who run into that same thing. And it seems like there are some things that fix it, but then it'll get broken. Like I did not see a consensus on like, oh no, all you need to do is do this and it works. So I was like, okay, well, whatever.
Seems like, yeah.
I mean, also, like, I can wait for the official SteamOS release, but it's not like I wasn't liking Bazite anyway.
Yeah.
So, and for those who might not remember, the reason why I wanted to reinstall is because I think I ran on the handheld just like I did on the desktop. I think I ran DNF update. So I was like, okay, I'm going to reinstall it on the handheld as well. And
you
then,
effed it up when you ran DNF update.
Well,
maybe.
I don't know, but at that point I was like, I'll just go back to Bazite. But then as I was installing Bazite, there was a video that popped up on my YouTube feed that was like, hey dog, I'm testing CachyOS running handheld mode, and I think it's better than Bazite. And I was like, oh, CachyOS, I've heard of that thing. Will uses that. Is it really better than Bazite? Or Baked Ziti, Baziti, however you want to say it.
Nobody's ever called it either of those things.
So I was like,
yeah.
And I sent that to you too.
Yeah.
And we forgot to grab a handheld when we were in the studio yesterday.
Oh yeah, we did. That's
fine.
If I'm up in the city, I'll go swing by and get one. But yeah.
But I was like, oh, you know what? I officially want to test this. I want to do a video for PCWorld's YouTube channel and, you know, have definitive testing. So I did end up loading up Bazite. It's all updated on this Legion Go 2. It's working properly. I downloaded some games. I'm going to run some benchmarks. And then I'm going to go install the Bazite one or the CachyOS one.
Handheld, yeah.
Because yeah, like I keep hearing people be like, oh yeah, CachyOS, you're going to get a performance enhancement, or it's lighter, it's quicker, it gets updates better, faster. So, and I was like, okay, I don't know. So number one, I mean, I guess I'm a little skeptic on the install process, because I mean, it sounds like the handheld version is fairly new, and Bazite, I mean, has been doing this for years.
They've been doing the handheld version since I started running Cachy, so it's been at least 6 or 8 months.
I mean, it's like 6 months. Compared to Bazite's been doing this for years.
A year and a half, yeah.
And so I'm curious, and then I am curious. That's why I'm running official benchmarks to be like, okay, well, are we getting an actual performance benefit?
You're gonna get that Shadow of the Tomb Raider number, see what it's doing?
Exactly, right? You have to.
It's what the kids crave.
This is what the kids crave. And then, oh man, let me find it real quick, because somebody, I think it was just today, was saying, oh, yo dog, why are you loading into baked ziti in the game mode? You shouldn't be doing that. You should just launch the Steam Big Picture mode from like when you download Bazite, usually one of the questions it asks is, do you want game mode? And they're saying, oh, the best thing to do is don't do game mode. You load into the desktop, and it was a Bowfinity on Discord. And they were saying, I just have a better gaming experience not using game mode. And I was like, can you tell me specifically? Are we talking performance, whatever? And they were saying it just feels better on handheld devices, and they don't know how to describe it. So, and to be fair, that's usually what I do. Like when I get a Windows handheld in, most of the time I just have it auto launch into Steam Big Picture mode.
Yeah.
It's not perfect because then I still sometimes have to exit it to run Windows updates and driver updates and all that kind of stuff. So I'm curious. They have me intrigued. Will I do that? I don't know, but I want to try the CachyOS first.
So for me, the big thing about game mode that I really like is that it lets you, on games where you can, on a multi-monitor system, which I'm running at home when I'm playing games on the desktop, games that lose the mouse focus, it lets you lock the focus to that window. So I often will run the game mode, the Gamescope. Yeah, Gamescope. Yep. Specifically to lock the cursor, unless you Alt Tab or Super O or whatever to get out. Because I'd much rather it'd be a little bit of a hassle to get the mouse off of the game than lose the mouse while I'm in the middle of a firefight and I get owned because I Alt Tabbed by accident. But like that's my main Gamescope usage on the desktop. I to be honest, this is a place where I have like the most superficial, just enough to be real dangerous knowledge. And it's still, people were kind enough. They sent a lot of links. The Proton wiki on Valve's GitHub seems to be the canonical source for documentation for Proton flags. There's a couple of other wikis.
Because you were asking for a big list of all the flags.
Yeah, so there were a couple of other places that have
to me too.
Semi list. Yeah, I'll grab it. I'll grab it and send it over. Put it in my homework, and I'll do it in a minute. But there's also other places with flags. There's like Valve's developer documentation has some flags. It's the normal Linux thing of, like, Neri has this problem too. There's a wiki on the Neri website that has documentation, and there's a Niki on the GitHub that has documentation, and then there's one other thing that I've found someplace that has documentation. And it's difficult when you're coming in to know which one is the canonical one and which one isn't. And I think that the one on the website for Neri and the one on GitHub are supposed to be synced across multiple things, and it seems like maybe it just lags a little bit or something. I don't know. It's just frustrating. Like, too much documentation is as much of a problem as too little documentation.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because then, especially if it's coming from different sources, and you're like, okay, well, which one should I trust? Which one should I use? Like, yeah, that is weird. Okay. Well, let's talk more about Gamescope.
Yeah.
Because here's the other big thing. So after last week's episode, when I kind of had that revelation of like, oh my goodness, on my home theater PC. The PC looks hooked up to my TV. I have Bazite on that. It launches into the big picture mode, or into Gamescope mode, because I did pick game mode as in the installer option. it kept, in the couple games that I played, it was not giving me options. And I realized when I did the flag Steam Deck equals 0, then it would be like, okay, this isn't the Steam Deck. That's fine. And I was like, wait, is this just default behavior for Bazite? And I got into our Discord and man, we had a really good discussion. A lot of people did a ton of digging on this subject. So I really appreciate it. I definitely have some people to shout out as we get through here. But essentially, and this kind of goes back to the other thing, is that the Gamescope is something that is going to flag the system to say, hey, this is a Steam Deck. Supposedly, once the Gamescope session starts, it's assuming it's a Steam Deck. I don't know if that's something that is easily gotten around. There's a lot of people who've been giving different suggestions on how to, maybe launch things from a different way or things like that. Or like I said, the person who was like, oh, you know what, just don't use game mode at all. Download Bazite and say no to game mode and just use the full screen thing. But yeah, it seems like essentially Gamescope is tied to that Steam Deck equals 1. It's assuming that if you're running Gamescope that you're going to use a Steam Deck. And for me, I'm like, that sucks, because yes, it's only a handful of games that has done that, but I think that list is only going to grow over time. Not only that, now I have in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, well, even if I know the games that lock you out of stuff, like a good one is Expedition 33. You launch that one on Steam Deck by default, and it literally, like, it only surfaces, like, you can change the resolution and a couple of other things like motion blur or something, and it literally had no settings for graphical options. And I was like, okay, well, that's obviously weird. Either the developers didn't ship a game that you could change your graphical settings, but that doesn't seem right.
Well, but that's the Steam Deck approach for a lot of AAA games, is that they basically treat it like a console build and they turn off all the flags.
Which makes sense. I get it. But like the thing where I fell into is that nobody's telling us that. So it's not like in the launcher, it was like, oh, by the way, we're using Steam Deck optimized settings. If you want to turn it off, here's how to do it. Or it's not showing that, which the other approach is something like Cyberpunk, where it literally has in the graphical options, you cycle through and it has a Steam Deck option.
Yeah.
And the consensus, at least in the chat, people were like, oh, I would much rather have it tell me that, hey, you know what, we're giving you the Steam Deck experience. And I hope that's something that Valve can look at in the future. If they're really trying to make SteamOS something that can be installed on non-Valve hardware, then I think they really need to do that, because like now, like I said, it's in the back of my mind. I was like, okay, well, what is it on? Do I need to put Steam Deck equals 0 on every game before I launch? Like, how would I know? If there's nothing telling me, maybe I'm missing out on something.
Yeah. So
like it's one of those weird kind of hiccup kind of things that I think really ultimately needs to be addressed by Valve. But I did get some feedback. So anyway, Lord Slinky Supreme, he was one of the ones that was doing some digging and found that Steam Deck equals 0. A Gamescope session is assuming that you're playing on Steam Deck.
Steam Deck, yeah.
Dark Mage is saying because you're on the Bazite image that I chose for game mode UI, that it automatically applies to the Gamescope session. I still prefer that. Like I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if I want to just have it default into big picture mode. I do like actually having that Gamescope session. So
well, yeah, because the thing that I don't think I fully understood is that Gamescope is a compositor. So it's like in the same way that Wayland is a compositor, Gamescope. Or maybe Neri is a better example, because Neri can run as its own on the top level, but you could also run a Neri compositor inside a KDE window if you want, right? And then you can have a tiling window manager inside that window manager, which is weird. But like those are, it seems like Gamescope works in a kind of similar way, where you can either run it as the thing that displays all of the Steam UI and handles the game display and all that stuff too, or which is what the Steam Deck does. Or you can run it as a container for games, which is what is happening like on my PC when I launch a Steam game and it uses Gamescope, And I like this thing that you have in the notes from Zaz is the first time I've really understood what's actually happening and how to control it without like having to manually put stuff in every single Steam command line in Steam.
Yeah, this was the big one, and I have not done this yet, but yeah, so Zaz recommended you can put a file in etc/profile.d to put variables in there that are permanent for all games. So,
all Steam games.
Steam games, and you have to reboot for it to take effect. But yeah, they showed their profile kind of thing being like, hey, enabling FSR4 upgrade, which we had talked about before because I didn't know. They have some other flags in there, but then they were like, yeah, that's where you could put Steam Deck equals 0 so that profile always just shows, hey, Steam Deck equals 0. So that's what I would like to do and try that. So yeah, because that would be that'd be nice.
Good.
Like rather than doing it because that's the thing right now. I've been on my desktop. I've been putting Steam Deck equals 0, and then I've been putting the Proton _FSR4 _upgrade equals 1, and then somebody else gave me another flag because I was like, well, I don't know if FSR4 is even working or if it's even running, and like I haven't been. Like a lot of people have told me things, but they're also like one person was like, oh, you need to go get GE Proton. And that's the way to make sure to force it on. I was like, well, but that's not available in the options. Like that's a whole separate Proton you install, right?
GE Proton, yeah, you can install it from your package manager or whatever, or like Lutris will install it as well. I think if you use that. The thing about GE Proton is that there's some stuff like video codecs that Valve can't ship legally, so they're like IP encumbered video codecs, and somebody just packaged up the video codecs that like. I assume it's stuff like Bink, but I don't actually know for sure. I haven't dug into it. It's stuff that has an encumbered license that they are not going to include in the core Proton builds. So you use that for games that have a lot of video, basically. That's encumbered video.
Yeah, so I haven't tried that, but maybe that's an option. Somebody did tell me that you can actually do a flag, and I didn't write it down, unfortunately, but it was essentially Proton FSR4 indicator equals 1.
Oh yeah,
and somehow some indicator is going to tell you that FSR4 is on.
It's going to have a big giant thing across the middle of your screen that says FSR is on.
FSR4, yeah. So
4.0,
yeah. So I think I need to try out the GE Proton thing. Once again, it's not a huge deal, but it's one of those things where it's like I want to use the latest version of Proton. I have a GPU that supports it. It really sucks that there's no. I mean, actually, this should be an AMD thing, right? AMD should be, either working with developers to make sure it's implemented natively in a game, or if they want to have the driver override thing, they need to have some sort of available piece of software that you can just have a GUI, right?
Yeah,
that AMD officially supports, like on Windows.
Yeah.
So either way, I need to do
a
do
tool that puts the right stuff in your profile D folder, right? Like they don't have to make a tool that sits in your tray all the time. They just need to make a tool that lets you do a system wide override on FSR4 type stuff, like that does the command that does the config file stuff for you, right? And
because the driver override is essentially just saying, hey, is this game running FSR 3.5 or whatever the required one for the driver override is? Oh, it is. Then go ahead and flag that override to FSR4.
Yeah, it's weird. Like this is one of those Linux Windows things that it hits a lot for me, that like sometimes the stuff that is important on Windows just doesn't have to exist on Linux because you can adjust a text file someplace and it'll just do it for you. So like, I can't come up with an example off the top of my head, but like, yeah, I got nothing. But the point is, sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's harder. I think this is one of those ones where they could literally give you a tool like that NVIDIA settings app that makes these changes for you, and it would get you like 90% of the way there. Same thing for the DLSS 4.5 stuff on on the NVIDIA side. Like it's a similar, like the NVIDIA settings app is nice for letting you throttle the card, but really what I want is the overrides on stuff like Reflex and VRR and Reflex and G-Sync and DLSS and yeah. Anyway,
I mean, the bigger thing is like I've pressed both NVIDIA and AMD about this because I actually don't really like the driver override stuff because I think it should just be natively built into the game. If you're in the game and you're controlling the options, you should be able to see that option there. Well, like because that's the easiest user experience. The only real quick, the only thing that they've pushed back on me to say, oh yes, we're trying to do that. But what this enables is games that aren't getting developed anymore, or games where
that's it.
You know that, yeah. So I get that, but I get that, but the problem is like that's a thing that should be a placeholder in time right now. Games that are not actively getting developed, but all the games that are actively getting developed should just have that. So like, but they keep relying on, oh, hey, you know what? We've got FSR4 or DLSS 4.5, but it's only available in the driver override.
It's only for the weirdos who know about doing this specific thing. This is the eternal problem. Like the thing is, the other way to do this is to abstract out. So right now, when you implement one of those AI upscaling plugins, whether it's XESS or FSR, or DLSS, you install a plugin into your game engine. So if you're using Unity or Unreal or something like that, then you just download a thing, you put that in. But then you also have to wire up all the UI stuff. And that's where, like, that's the place that it gets complicated. And that's why you don't actually see these updates happening in the app, is because it'll say, you know, the plugin says DLSS 4 because somebody typed that into a field in Unreal before they made that build. And when 4.5 comes out, NVIDIA may be able to replace the DLL that runs the DLSS implementation, but they can't change the text in the game. And so you end up in a kind of gnarly situation. And the solution for this is, hey, Microsoft just needs to build an API that interacts with the driver on the Windows side that says, hey, here's all the information that AI upscaling and AI frame gen need in order to work. We're going to provide that, pass that through the drivers, and the drivers can put the frames back into the game, and also solves the how is this labeled in the game UI problem, right? They're not going to do that. I don't know how that's going to impact Linux. I assume the Proton people will figure that out at some point if it happens. But fundamentally, this is a problem because AMD has a solution, NVIDIA has a solution, Intel has a solution. Presumably the PlayStation has a solution and Apple has a solution. I
mean, there's a solution built into Unreal, right? Isn't TSA, TSR, yeah, but isn't that Unreal's thing? So
yeah, but
there's so many different implementations.
Yeah, there's a bunch of implementations. None of them are universal. They all require slightly different things, although it's the same basic information. And like it's just a mess. It's just messy.
Well,
is the bad thing.
FSR used to be open and universal, but then it's changing because they want to have a better version of it.
Which once they got tensor cores on the GPUs, then it made sense for them to close it, tie it to your hardware. I mean,
I get it. I did like that FSR was device agnostic,
but it wasn't very good.
Recently.
Is the thing too?
Yeah, I mean, you could only go so far. So I get it, but. Yeah. I mean, and also there's other solutions out there. The Duck one, right? The
Duck app. Lossless scaling is what it's called.
Lossless scaling, yeah.
You just need to put a second.
That will work on anything.
Yeah, you got to put a second GPU on your Steam Deck, and then you can run lossless.
eGPU, baby.
eGPU 1080 Ti. Just plug that in there. Your lossless scaling will go right up. It's exactly what the kids. This is what everybody loves.
Hey, you joke, but I literally have an eGPU right here. It was within arm's reach for audio listeners.
Of course you do. I'm sure it's next to your trackball.
Hey, the trackball's always here.
It's just weird hanging out, man. Weird business. I was going through the bin of controllers at the office yesterday looking for something, and all I saw was that the trackball was the other trackball was missing, but the ball was still there. It was like the husk of a formerly great trackball.
I mean, I don't think anything can kill these balls. These are
you could put that in a potato cannon and kill somebody.
I've got balls of steel.
No.
Anyway,
it's resin or plastic or something, sir.
Actually, people do sell the steel balls that you can replace it with. But anyway,
thank you.
Anyway, yeah, really good conversations over there. Like I think a lot of people are like, yeah, that is weird, and a lot of people, rightfully so, who haven't encountered the games that have the Steam Deck mode are like, oh, why is this a deal? And it's like, I really feel like it's going to be more and more in the future, both for Steam Deck and for Steam Machine. So like for Steam Machine, I think they have to figure out a better solution for this, right? I think it works for Steam Deck because you're essentially like Steam OS has, Valve has requirements for getting that Steam Deck check mark that are tied to performance and UI scaling and button prompts and keyboard. Like the keyboard has to pop up automatically. And there's a whole big long list of things that you have to have, but performance is one of them. So you have to provide them with a performant enough version of the game. And they're not looking for anything complicated. They're looking for like 30 frames per second at the resolution that the Steam Deck runs at, which is 1280 by 800. It's not a lot. But if you're talking about a game that's primarily ray traced or like has a big giant renderer attached to it, then they have to build the special mode. And Cyberpunk was one of the first ones that did that. The game's been out for a long time now, but they embraced the Steam Deck early on. And like Valve, when you have a game that isn't performant on the deck by default, Valve sends you a piece of documentation that says, hey, here are the ways that people do this. You can either have a flag that lets you run a Steam Deck specific mode that has your tuned settings that will run on the Steam Deck, or you can make a Steam Deck mode in the game like Cyberpunk does, or you can set a default configuration that runs on the Steam Deck and give people access to the thing so they can make their game run bad if they want. And I don't think there's anything wrong on the Steam Deck with saying, hey, we're locking you out from the stuff that's going to make your experience bad. Now, when you're talking about a Steam Machine, I don't know why in my head this feels different, but if I had a cube computer on my desk that was hooked up to a monitor and a mouse and keyboard, and they locked me out of those settings that let me jack up the performance on my system, I'm going to be upset. And I don't know conceptually this is an in my head problem, because like for me, it's fine if the Steam Deck just works and I don't have to think about it. But on the desktop, I want to be able to futz. And like I have to get over this, or they have to get over this, or whatever. We have to work through it. Well, does your head change if you were to take that same exact box and stick it under your TV?
That's a real good question. I don't know.
Because for there, then I think it's like the Steam Deck where it makes sense. Hey, it's under the TV. It's more
it's a
console-like anyway. But if it's sitting on your desk like your PC, you want it to act like a PC. Right?
You're not wrong. I think this, like, from talking to people who aren't nerds, computer nerds, about the Steam Deck over the last 3-4 years, however long it's been out now, like hey, I can play PC games and it's real easy is an enormous selling point. Right. And I think them messing that up just to accommodate nerds is going to be a mistake. At the same time, like, there has to be a better way to do this. And I feel like we've reached a point where obfuscating all this stuff, maybe there's an advanced settings in the Steam panel that lets you bypass, like, hey, Steam Deck mode, check mark, not Steam Deck mode, uncheck mark in the Steam properties for each game. Right.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
By the way, I just looked it up.
Yeah.
The release date of the Steam Deck is a year and a couple months after the Cyberpunk. So
yeah,
the Steam Deck is not that old. You called Cyberpunk a really, really old game.
I said it was a classic game.
You said it was really old. Like
I said, it was 5 years old and change. Now,
and now the Steam Deck is 4 years old.
Legacy hardware.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost 4 years old.
Well, it's the same age as the consoles, basically, right? It's the consoles came out in 2020, it came out in 2021, like 6 months later. So
pretty much, yeah.
It's it's time. It's rusty old hardware.
Yeah. Well, you know what else is time? We should wrap this up. The show.
Yeah.
So homework.
Yeah.
Like I said, I guess I should back up real quick. The last thing. If I kind of mentioned it, but I didn't make it clear. I was worried about my desktop setup or my home theater PC being messed up by me doing DNF update. I wiped it. I reinstalled it.
Just a clean start.
just clean start, just a peace of mind. Luckily, installing Linux is easy, so I was up and running in no time. And I do want to futz with some of these changes to see if I can get it to at least by default say this is not a Steam Deck. Like if I can get that, that's a huge win. I think, even if I can't get the FSR4 thing, like, I'll keep messing with that one, but at least the Steam Deck equals 0. Like, I think it's just a given.
Honestly, just understanding how that works better is going to be good, right? Like,
for sure. Yeah. So I want to do that. Like I said, I am hopefully going to be walking into next week's episode being able to say, hey, you know what? I installed Cache on a handheld, and hopefully you will be too. So let's see. I'm still waiting for that DLSS 4.5 driver to hit Linux. I'm going to play some more GeForce Now stuff just because I'm interested. I want to play specifically some stuff that's not DRM'd. The DRM doesn't work. So maybe I think Battlefield 6 works on it. I think Call of Duty. Maybe we should do a stream one day. Yeah. Anyway, try that. Yeah. How do you think your stream would react if you're like, oh, by the way, I'm just streaming this on GeForce Now?
That I'm going to tell you that Arc Raiders experience blew me away. I played for like an hour and a half, and I played for long enough that I completely forgot I was in the GeForce Now thing, and I didn't have any weird jankiness. The mouse wheel scrolling in Fortnite is going to make me slowly insane. Because I use the mouse wheel to switch weapons. I don't use the buttons in that game because there's only 5 guns, so you just roll through real fast. But yeah, I was able to do like all this. Like one of the guns that I use in Arc Raiders is a Tappa real fast gun, and I was able to hammer that as fast as I can on the desktop PC running native in Windows or Linux, and like it feels real good. I was really blown away. I want to spend some time getting a better handle on the Pro audio pipeline using. Like I have a sense of the difference between jack and pipe wire and all that stuff and how that works and how I can use that. Because like on the normal desktop, I'm just using the standard send everything through the same bus, just like always. On the stream machine, it would be really convenient to be able to pull out the Discord audio and the capture audio from the stream and all the other different pipelines and dump them into different inputs in OBS, which I can then control with knobs. So I have balance controls and monitoring and all that stuff. It's a little bit fraught. I'm able to get it working for a single session, and then it doesn't always restore for the next session in ways that I don't exactly understand. So I got to dig into that. Let's see. Somebody posted in the questions channel thread about the Zoom Neary frame lag thing that I had, which from looking at this thread, I shouldn't have had a problem, but also I absolutely had the problem. So I'm gonna post a bug for that, and I'll report back on that. And then that external Windows drive thing, I want to figure out. I think that's good. More stream PC testing and figuring out what's going on with that. I also saw this thing on ZDNet the other day about a new distro called StratOS.
Oh, yeah, that did look cool.
And it looked real sexy and fun. And like, I know I'm not supposed to describe technology stuff as sexy, but like, yeah, it was pretty good. I'm going to put that on the futzing laptop and see what the story is there. For folks who don't know, it's a Hyperland. I mean, you can also use Neary on it is why I was interested. It's GNOME, Hyperland, and Neary. It's an Arch-based distro. It's kind of splits the gap between like Cache, which is a rolling, and Manjaro or Endeavor that are a little less rolling. Is what the vibe I get. And yeah, it looks nice. It looks cool. So I'm gonna give it a try.
Yeah, like if I'm gonna try, well, I mean, I guess I'm gonna try Cache, so then I'm already trying a Arch-based distro. But if there was another Arch-based distro that had my ears perked up, it was this one for sure. I will say I just did a quick Google search for StratOS, and it seems like there's actually another StratOS. Or
oh wow,
maybe it's just pronounced Stratus, but it's like a UI for cloud services or something like that. So yeah,
So this is stratos.linux-linux.org for folks who want to give it a look.
Unfortunately, a bad name,
also didn't confirm that these people aren't milkshake ducks. Apparently, the Hyperland people tend to be milkshake ducky is the feeling I'm getting. I don't know. OS.
Let us know. Let us know.
I'm Googling to see if they're problematic right now. Nothing immediately popped up.
Well, yeah, Will's worried.
Fingers crossed.
Right.
Look, I'm shook. I'm shook over here.
All right, well, check back next week for your fix of Linux talk here on Dual Boot Diaries. If you want to see our pretty faces, and I would call Will pretty. Well,
thank you.
Weird. It's good looking. If you want to do that, go over to YouTube and search for the Full Nerd Network. We have a YouTube channel over there that hosts all PCWorld podcasts, including the Full Nerd Podcast, Dual Boot Diaries, and an upcoming handheld podcast with that I'm going to be doing with Russ from Retro Game Core. So if you want video versions, you can find them over there. But hey, it's okay. If you don't want to see Will's beard, I totally get it. I'm not offended. But maybe he is, and you just want to listen to us. Then,
if you want to be beardist, that's fine. I'm not gonna call you out. But yeah.
Then subscribe to the audio feed anywhere that fine podcasts are fed. I guess I will note real quick, we are working to implement dynamic ad insertion into our audio RSS feeds. So I think a lot of people know what these are. These are pretty typical in podcasts, where essentially we on our end, we upload the audio file, and then we say, hey, you know what, you could dynamically insert an ad here, and we're working with a programmatic ad company to then
a partner,
a partner to put ads in there, and we will have restrictions on what's going to be just inserted in there. No gambling ads for sure. No political ads.
Only male enhancement pills. That's the only kind of ad category we're taking, right?
Can't say that.
Okay.
So
Fiber.
Do I love this? No, but I do think that this is a best practice out there. A lot of people do it, and I mean, honestly, we're trying to find more ways to monetize so that we can continue to do awesome podcasts and get better and all that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, unfortunately, this is a business, and money's got to come from somewhere. But
yeah, that's the thing is right now these are essentially free unmonetized podcasts, and we spend a fair amount of time on it. So. So
look for that. I will say, give us feedback. If you're like, you know what, I'm unsubscribing right now because of it, let me know. I will gather that info. Also, if you come across ads that are inserted that you're like, hey, you know what, I think you wouldn't like this ad, please let us know. Please. So supposedly we will have some levers to pull to say, hey, you know what, never run ads from this company again, because it's not stuff we want on the podcast.
We don't want scammy ads. We don't want like no gold, no gambling, no I don't know. I've listened to enough podcasts. I've heard a lot of scammy ads, and we're going to go through and disallow a lot of the categories out of the gate. So.
Yeah, so just let us know. Just wanted to put that in here as a programming note. Either way, we appreciate all of you, and if you want to come join the conversation, there's a link down in the description to our Discord. It's the Full Nerd Discord, and we have a Linux channel in there where there's awesome stuff being talked about. Really good community that we've built. And then also, if you have a question that you want to get in, then there's a channel called DBD Questions. You put a question in there, and hopefully we'll read it on this show. I think Will and I have been talking about some format changes. I think maybe we'll move to a thing kind of like what you do on Tech Pod, where maybe we'll like once a month we'll do a question episode or something like that. But yeah, because there are good questions in there, and sometimes we have so much to talk about just in our normal stuff that we don't want to tack too many questions onto normal episodes. So maybe we'll have like separate questions episodes. So
I think that would be good. There's a really, like, for example, there was a really good thread about getting HDR working on Neri, the compositor that I use. And the TLDR is that it's basically on hold until there's, I think, Smith A new Wayland compositor toolkit is released. So like, put a pin in HDR and Neri on my desktop PC, I guess, for right now.
So once again, Neri sucks. You heard it here first on Dual Boot Diaries.
Adam hates Neri.
Yep. Thanks, Will, for hanging out.
Always a pleasure,
Thanks,
sir.
everybody. And we'll catch you in the next one.
Bye, everybody.